welcome to another episode of our Fearless Power Podcast.
I almost forgot about that.
How can you forget? We did it so many times. It's that one little extra step. That was funny because when Damien watched the first episode, he's just like, oh my God, Fearless Power Podcast. He was doing it with the kids. Did Phil make fun of you at all?
No, I don't think he watched
my
the
entire
actual video.
family made fun of me. So yeah, good for you.
We're going to continue it.
Yeah, why not?
I think it stuck out.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I hope all of you guys are watching our podcast or at least listening to it because we are on Spotify and on YouTube.
Yep. I've been getting great feedback on everything.
We've been getting great
thank you
feedbacks.
Everybody for your feedback. We do really appreciate
Yes,
it.
yes.
I was thinking the other day, like, how did I get to where I am today, right?
Right.
And I'm going to make you go first, though, because after I was thinking about it, I'm like, this is a really good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, we've talked a lot about specifics in our lives,
Yeah.
but, like, what was the actual main turning point?
To get to where we are now,
To get
right?
to where we are now.
And I also find, too, like, we're, like, for some people, we might be, like, nobodies. Like, we're, like, could be losers. But for us, we're, like, feeling, like, really good about ourselves this year.
We are.
Right?
We are.
And everybody has a different vision about
Yeah.
what's working for your life and what's not working for your life.
Exactly. And, like, getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that you don't normally do. For instance, this podcast. Like, this isn't something that I used to do or normally would do. I did education, you did education. We both did.
Yes.
But that is like a very small group of people. You go in, you know exactly what you're teaching, you have your key points, and you take off.
Yeah.
This is totally different. So this year was really about both of us
Getting out of the comfort
to
zone.
the next level.
So since we already filmed a bunch, how was like your first impression, like when you actually watched the first episodes in the podcast? Like, did you feel like, oh, this is cute and good? Or you're like, oh my God, I got to stop saying this. I got to stop jumping over the words. I got to do this. Like, how did you feel? I felt like, I was like, oh my God, there's certain things I was like dying. I was like, I can't believe it. But now it's out in the world and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be perfect. I don't think anything is perfect.
Yeah.
I always look for my keywords that I use as my pause when I'm thinking.
Okay.
Like,
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
So those are the things that I pay
Yeah.
attention to. But otherwise, I think we did phenomenal. And I mean, again, like we got all great feedback.
We got amazing feedbacks and people are still watching on their TV, which is so fun to watch. Like when they repost us and they're like on their TV screen, it's like really exciting to see us.
Yeah.
You know,
Repost us if you're watching it on your television.
We really appreciate like
We
knowing
do.
that you guys are like watching and like having a good time. But today we're going to talk about, it was one of our good topics that we were like, we can't not go another podcast without talking about. But you want to take over?
You go first.
Okay.
You go
so
first.
We're
Your
going,
turning point.
Yes, we're going to talk about our turning point. What was the one experience that, you know, we had that changed our lives, you know, in a good way, in a bad way, hopefully in a good way. I feel like this podcast is all
Definitely a
about
good
being
way.
positive. So we're going to talk about it. So Darlene, tell me, what was the first, like, or one of your experiences that you felt that you're like, oh my God, I need to make a change and I have to do better?
I love that you flipped it back to me. I see what you did. So, you know, everyone thinks that like everything in life is easy to get to, and it's not. Nothing in life is easy. Nothing in life comes easy. Everything takes work. I feel like everyone has a journey that they went through. My journey was when I was younger. To start it, when I was younger, I felt like I never fit in, right? When I did finally fit in, I fit in with the wrong crowd. And when I was with the wrong crowd, I got into the wrong stuff. So that started when I was in high school. And, you know, it was like drug related, alcohol related, everything. And I never noticed anything with it. Like, but what I did notice is, how come they all want to go home and I want to keep going? Like, why do I want to keep partying and nobody else does?
And you didn't want to go home.
And I would think about it and I'd be like, but no, I'm the life of the party, you know? Like,
okay.
I just took it as like a kid having fun, going out, partying. And as time went on, it wasn't the case anymore. You know, it became like a part of my life. It's like when you smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
And you always smoke cigarettes, and now you're smoking cigarettes all the time, even if you only did it when you went out drinking. it becomes a part of your life and then you just can't stop. It's the same thing. So I fell into addiction. I didn't know that I was in addiction in the beginning, obviously. It took me a long time of like bumping my head to realize that I actually had a problem, because I always wanted to say it was recreational use, it was fun, I'm just being a kid, I'm just being,
right.
you know, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old. Like, I always had an excuse for it. And at the time, I had a boyfriend who was a cop and got caught with drugs and stealing and all this stuff. And
right.
It ended up on the news.
Oh my God.
And at this point we were like,
were you dating
we
like
were
official?
Bad. Yeah,
okay.
We were dating for years. We were bad together. And I remember like sitting in the kitchen with my mom and it like popping up on the TV.
Stop.
And her being like, "Oh my God, is that?"
And you're like, the power go out, please, like right now.
And like after that, I started this journey of like going into treatments because I actually had a problem.
Right.
And I had to admit it. But I admitted it because I got caught.
Okay.
And with anything in life, it's like you have to want to do it.
Right.
You can't do it because other people are telling you to do it. I had to do it like on my own will, you know? And that time I wasn't ready. So like I started going to NA meetings at that point.
Did your parents at any point push you to do that, or did you? Okay, so what was the, were they like threatening you, or was it coming out of like it was, how was it? Because I feel like a lot of parents, they're so scared for what the outcome will be because they already know what it's going to turn out into. So there's a lot of, you throw a lot of fear into the, you know, like if you do this, you can't live here. If you got to move out, you got to do this. You try to take everything away. But when you're an adult, it's harder to take things away because we don't care. We're like, whatever, take everything away. I can just go take a nap today. Like it doesn't matter. Or I'm going to just get out of the house no matter what.
Yeah.
Your parents, how was that, like, how was that with you and your parents when you went for your first AA meeting?
So they did force me to go because I lived in their house. So like I would probably be homeless if I didn't go, and I knew what my circumstances were. So I went to basically shut everybody up because my whole life was a rebel. It was like, you told me to do something, I did the complete opposite. You told me don't do that, I did exactly that. I was always just very rebellious. And everything that everyone told me not to do, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try it. I'm going to see why they tell me not to do it. Not intentionally. Like I didn't think that directly, but everything that somebody told me not to do, I ended up doing. So there was some type of like subconscious in me.
Do you have siblings?
I have an older brother.
Okay.
Who was an angel child.
Okay.
He was an angel. Like my mom had me and she was probably like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Excuse my language. At the time. So, you know, and I always thought that I was just, this was me, this was my life, this is who I was cut out to be. Like, don't like to talk about religion too much, but like God, like kind of, like almost like a resentment with God. Like, you made me this way. You know what I mean? Like, how come I ended up like this? You know? And like, then there was that resentment with like religion and this. And, you know, Did
you grow up in a religious household?
Kind of, yeah.
Were you guys going to church? Like, were you like, okay.
Did all of that, like, you know, communion, confirmation, everything. But I think the reality of it is that, like, I basically just always did what I wanted to do and didn't care what anybody else said or anybody else's feelings. I'm very compulsive.
Okay.
So I think that compulsive just, like, drove me to it.
So, and then you went to your first AA meeting, and how was that experience going in and coming out and going home? Like,
I was so scared. I was a little kid. I like didn't know what to expect. I didn't want to be there. I went for a while. I made friends. I ended up relapsing because I wasn't ready to actually do it. I did it because everyone else told me to. It wasn't on my will. And then at the time I was already dating Phil because I met Phil at meetings, and I was lying now to everybody because all my new friends were all from meetings, were clean. My boyfriend was clean, you know, so then when I relapsed, I didn't tell anybody. Now it was like a huge secret again. And I was like back into the like sneaking. I think I got like an adrenaline rush from like the sneaking part of it. Like no one's catching me. Like I do what I want, you know? And this isn't me now, but this was my mentality then.
Right.
And I basically accepted that this was how I was always going to be, and I was okay with it because I was a victim. And because I was a victim, I blamed everybody else. I had resentments with everybody else and didn't care about anybody else's feelings. Then I relapsed 2 more times. The second time, I basically got kicked out of the apartment that I was in with my boyfriend, at the time, my husband now. And he told me, like, you got to go because I'm going to get high before you get clean.
Okay.
And I still kept running after that. And then I finally woke up one morning. It was like a miracle. And I'm telling you, at this point, I was a lot worse than I was the first time I came in. A lot deeper, different drugs than I did in the beginning. All the things that I said I wouldn't do, I ended up doing, and it always progressed and got worse. So I was in a really bad point at this moment. And I remember waking up and being like, I need help. Like, my decision, my will, something came over me. Like, I just need to do this.
Oh my God, you just gave me the chills.
Calling rehabs all morning, 6:30 in the morning, calling rehabs.
Was Phil there? Were you with Phil at that point? No, he left.
We weren't together. And I was home again.
With your parents?
With my parents.
Okay.
In their house, ready to get kicked out again.
Okay, I was going to say, because they're like, you're only here temporary, you got to get it together. Yeah.
And everyone was like, no, you don't have insurance. We have no more state funding left for the year, because it was November at the time, and they're like, state funding is done for the year.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. One place called me back 5 minutes later, and they were like, we lied. We have one more slot left for the year. Are you coming today? And it was like, that to me was like a miracle. It was like, when you do the right thing happens. Like, I finally made a decision to do the right thing.
But and then I felt that God challenges you right there and then, because there's no spots left. And you're like, how am I going to do this by myself?
Exactly.
And then
I was like, I can't.
It was that 5 minutes that one person's like, I would be right up there. Yeah. Because you're like, it's not that easy. Yeah. Like, just because now I want it, maybe now it's not going to happen.
And I remember waking my mom up and I'm like, you have to take me to rehab. Like, I never saw her move so fast in her life to pack my bags and get me out. Like, she was like, get the hell out of here. So happy that I made the decision on my own. And I've been clean ever since that point. That was a true turning point for me, because, again, it was like my decision. It was my will. Something came over me that was like, I'm better than this. The victim ended. Right. I'm better than this. This is not the life I'm going to live. This is not me. This is who I chose to be. And I could be the person that I always wanted to be as a little girl, all the goals that I always wanted as a little girl. But I need to take the steps to do it and stop thinking that everything in life comes easy, because it doesn't. And the second that I got out of there, I made a decision to change my life. I made a decision to achieve the goals that I didn't even try for at the time. I think that made me so strong as a person, gave me so much knowledge in myself to be able to do the things that I did after I got out of there the past 10 years, So
you have to still go regularly, right? Like, do you have, now is it by choice, or is it like you still have to like check in?
No, everything is a choice.
Oh, everything is a choice.
Okay. I basically go because it saved my life. And if it saved my life, why am I going to stop going? Because for the first, 10 years before I got clean, those 10 years prior, I was playing Russian roulette every day. Right. I could have been dead. Okay. The fact that I'm here and that saved my life, I don't want to stop doing that, because I feel like you always need that reminder.
And I feel like for people too that might be watching it and have that struggle, or is at that point that you are now, like, going into those places, and seeking help, that was the best decision you can make. It might have been very humbling to walk in those buildings, through those doors. Like, I can't believe I'm here with these people, or whatever that might be like in your mental state. But like, it's got you here. So it should be like a step for anyone that wants to reset.
100%.
And then now you have someone that you talk to, I'm sure. Is there like
I have a sponsor?
A sponsor. So is that the same sponsor that's going to be with you for the rest of your life? Or does it switch it up?
You could always switch it. But the one thing that stuck out to me was that
she's from Jersey. Who finds it? Like, do they choose to be your sponsor? How does that work?
You have to ask them. So you have to listen to people in meetings and see who you gravitate to. Okay. And then you choose that person to be your sponsor. So I went through 2 sponsors prior to her. She had so much faith, and she had so much emotion behind everything that she said. Like, I didn't know how to cry when I got clean. Yeah. I was like emotionless. And she would share and she would cry if it was happy, if it was sad, if it was exciting. Like she just had so much emotion behind everything that she talked about that I was like, I need that.
I want emotions
and I need
back.
faith because I had a huge resentment with God.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I need faith back in my life too. Like that's the piece that I'm missing for me. Right. And I also share this too because I feel like, especially nowadays as well, and then and 10 years ago when I got clean, so many people struggle with this, and so many people are scared to actually admit it or talk about it after. So for years I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my clients. I'd be like, you drink, you do this, you want weed? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I give it to somebody. Yeah. And then finally when I started to tell people like my true self, like, and where I came from, you don't know how many people were like, oh my God, I'm struggling that with my daughter. Oh my God, I'm struggling with that with my mom, my aunt, my brother, like, and actually were asking me for help, where I was scared to tell people for the longest time.
You didn't want to feel judged because everybody wants to be in this perfect little world, but we all know none of us are perfect. Yeah, we're always making mistakes and stuff. Yeah.
So I think that
was really good to hear. Like, I feel like to share that, especially with like the podcast, I feel like I have clients, you have clients, they're young, they're every generation.
Yeah.
And I feel like if anybody is going through something like this and they're hearing from you, you know, years later, like, you're okay, look where you are now, you know, again, it might not be a great thing for certain people, but for you, it's like where your state of your life is now. And that's, you're proud of. Yeah. And you're proud of everything you went through.
And that's not me now, but that got me to where I am now. If I never went through that, I don't know if I would be the strong person that I am now. I don't know if I would have went after the goals that I had and been so fearless about it.
Right.
Because I think that I went through so much that I was like, I have to do this.
Right.
Like for me.
Right.
For me and for everybody that I like hurt
around
along the way to show them my action.
Do you feel like you owed somebody an apology, like at some point? Did you ever apologize? Like, or are you like, that to me would be probably the hardest thing. It's like to show that feeling. It's like, I'm sorry, you went through all this.
I had to apologize to a lot of people, but I think a lot of people were like, we love you. It's just more like, you could apologize, but we need to see action. So like over
at that
time,
point, they're just like, like, they don't trust. Yeah. We all have relationships like that.
Yeah.
Right?
So it was my action, you know, and now 10 years later, it's not even like a thing anymore. Now my amends are for different things. Like if I get out of character with, you know, my husband and I'm like, I am so sorry for talking to you that way. But like being able to apologize and being able to know my part.
Yeah.
Knowing my part and accepting it and like being able to tell somebody like, hey, I fucked up. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And it's admitting.
Now
we all have that. And I feel like with women, I feel like we're the worst. We always want to be right.
We always want to be right. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And like, you don't want to like let the ego and the pride down of like, oh shit, I was wrong. Yeah. I don't want to say that. I just want to continue with like,
24 hours. I need 24 hours.
To
let me get really mad and I would try to like tell you that I messed up. It doesn't happen right away.
So now that I went first and you know my experience, tell me a little bit about your life-changing experience, because you are literally just as successful as I am. And I think everyone goes through something, pain, to get to pleasure, right?
Yeah.
To get to where they are now.
I feel like I never had a drug problem. So I obviously listening, you know, your story, it's like very touchy because I have heard of stories like this, but I never really had a friend that I can literally openly talk about it. So I don't have anything crazy like that, but I really always struggled. I think I'm a divorce. I come from a divorced family. So to me, I always struggle with showing feelings. Mm-hmm. Huge thing. It affects my relationship today with my husband, you know, and like my kids too. Like my husband's all about like hugging, kissing. Like I always tell him, you're the woman in the relationship. Like I can't, like he wants me to, hi babe, how was work? And like rub my back. And like, I'm so not touchy because I feel like I went through so much when I was younger and like, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I had a horrible childhood. But I came from a divorced family. So there is a moment that you're growing up that one special time, which I can't tell you what age it was, that you need that people showing you affection. So you can become affection. So you can become that person. And I think at that moment I lost because I didn't have affection. Yeah. And it came because like if you guys watched the previous episode, my mom was here with my brother and she was the one that gave me the most affection growing up. Yeah. My dad wasn't home. So when I moved in with my dad, I had a stepmom. So she never had kids before. She didn't know what showing affection to a 9-year-old girl is that doesn't have her mom. So for like 3-4 years, I like didn't have that like hug and that kiss that like, it was like, how was school? Yeah. But there was no physical touch. Mm-hmm. So now I have to like catch myself and a lot of times coming home and like giving my kids the physical touch or like my husband still struggles with that. Like by going in there and giving him the kiss and the hug. Forcing myself to show affection. So I feel like that's been my struggle and I'm still working towards it. Like now I really realize it when I come home or like if I'm like, you know, just hanging out at home on a Sunday, like instead of like, come cuddle with me or come do this with me, I'm totally okay. Like not cuddling all day.
Sitting on the couch by yourselves.
or like I will show you love in like in words, right? But like the physical touch, I'm still working on that. Yeah. It's and it's something that like now I notice it more, but I'm getting better at it, but I'm not where I want to be.
Do you feel like that led you into something else as you got older? Like another area of like a transition? Like that was like a starting point that led you into a different transition in your life?
Yeah, I feel like I can make like decisions and like and just make a decision. Yeah. Like I think about people's feelings all the time. Yeah. But like if it's not gonna do well on me, I'm okay making the decision. Like I don't think twice. And like it's like if I feel like this is not good, it's not a good mental state for me to be, I'm done. I'm done. Yeah. I don't have like choices 1, 2, and 3. I don't sit on a negative relationship for too long because I'm just like, no, I don't need it.
It gives you that strong personality and that thick skin. Yeah, thick skin. Yeah.
Thick skin for sure. So I feel like that was one of mine, but not as big as yours. But I feel like showing to your kids and like, this is like a great segment that maybe one day they can watch and see, wow, like, okay, my mom was going through this. And then this is what my mom went through. What's something that you want to almost like tell your kids now in this podcast, like when they can watch it like a few years down the road? Yeah. You know, what's something that you want them to take on?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I know.
I want them to... What would I want from them as they get older?
And something that you want them to know you're known for, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, it could be like...
That's a really good question.
Yeah, like something that like, if you're like, my mom always was this way. Like, she was always like, whatever, you know? You just got a note from Penelope from Mother's Day. I got the same one from Denzel. Yeah.
So clearly they know I work. I have great work ethic. And I try to show them that, you know, we might have all these nice things, but all these nice things didn't come easy. Right. They take a lot of work, and they took work from, you know, starting at the bottom and working as an assistant for me. Right. Like starting doing that for how many years?
Humbling yourself.
Yeah. You know, you don't just go to a job and get the best position. You have to work for it. You have to prove yourself. You have to show your value. Yeah. So I think for them, like chasing after whatever it is that they want to do, but putting their all into it.
100%.
Because I feel like it's very easy to get distracted, to lose focus on your dream, to get distracted by what your friends are doing or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, you know, and then, you know, you're losing track of like what your actual purpose is. Right. So continuing that with all the little extras on the side, like not getting distracted.
I feel like for me, it's very similar to, I feel like with my kids, even now, I'm like, I don't care if you go to college. I don't care. I just want you to find something that you love. Yeah. It's work, it's career related, but you love what you do, because in the end of the day, if you're going to do a 9 to 5 and you hate your job, you're doing majority of the time, you're at work. You're miserable. And you're miserable. So like really, I don't care what you do. You could be like, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
They say if you love what you do, you never have to work another day in your life, right?
Yes.
Because yes, it's work, but if you enjoy going every day, that's your purpose. and you're happy.
Yeah, it's like finding their purpose. It's so like it's a big thing for me. A lot of
people will do things based off of money, but don't actually. They're like, I make really good money doing this, but I hate my job. I hate my job. I hate the people that I work with. I hate numbers or whatever it is, right? And it's like, but I make really good money.
But how are you gonna go on your whole life like that? And that's my biggest thing that I tell the kids.
And then what are you showing your kids if you do have them? Yeah. You're showing your kids that you hate going to work every day. Yeah. You don't love what you do and you're just doing it for a paycheck.
Absolutely.
And like, yes, there is certain things that you have to do for a paycheck. I know some people struggle and they have to do whatever it takes to support their family. I totally understand that. But I think that that's the beginning phase. I think that there has to be like a point where you're not comfortable, where you decide, okay, I need to go to the next level now. I need to take a jump because it's scary to take a jump.
It is scary. And actually, one of the things I was just telling my assistant, one of the things I wanted to share with my kids is to be okay with the unknown.
Yes.
Because if you think you know how your life is going to lead you to, it's not. You're not. It's never going to lead you this way. So like sometimes you have to be in the dark. Yeah. Like you have to like not know what your next step is. And like growing up, especially now with social media and Instagram, everybody's showing everything they have. Yeah. Like it's in everybody's faces. So like you can see like the whole dynamic with the high school kids, the middle school kids, they're like, there's more depression going on. There's so much more because everything is always in their faces. Yeah. So I tell the kids all the time, like, don't look at that. Like, you can't look at that. Like, you know, because it's not real. Yeah. It's not real. So this was a good podcast.
This was a really good podcast.
I kind of got to know you a little bit more on that level because I always felt like I wanted to ask you those questions, but I didn't want to like, you know, feel like, you know, that I was like, overstepping.
I know, because a lot of people think that even with that, especially, it's like a judgment. And even for you, I get like that too, because I blocked emotion. Yeah. So it's the same, but just in a different way. I blocked it with that as my way of not dealing with it. So because I didn't deal with it for so long, when I finally felt it, I was still trying to block it. So it's like very similar, but in a different way. Right. And, you know, I think the love that we share now with everybody, with our employees, with our families, with everybody, that's what takes us out of that and be able to
the comfort zone.
And be able to share more emotion.
Absolutely. So, I love that. And I can't wait to grow more and then tell you, you know, like I'm still going through it. Yeah. So like, but it's been a very long like process for me to be able to show emotions, and I feel like a lot of people struggle with that.
Proud of you, girl.
Yes, I'm proud of you.
All right, everybody. Amazing. Until our next podcast. We got really deep this time, but we're gonna have an interview soon. Yes. So it's not just gonna be about us.
Not just about us anymore.
Which is really exciting. So until next time.
Next time.